right, folks. Looks like that's working. That's rolling well. Honestly, I wish I knew how to zoom in this camera, but I don't. But like, we don't really need that. We don't need that. Let's get it rolling with everything else on the platforms. What's up? What's happening, people? Welcome to another episode of the Meathead on the Mic podcast. It's your boy, IFBB PRO, Matt Butale, and today we are going to be talking about something very, very basic, something very, very beginner level, but something that I still want to bring to your attention because my main intention with today's episode is to teach you, or at least to show you literally how easy it is for you to lose your first 5 pounds, and then how to snowball that effect into your first 10 pounds, your first 15, your first 20, and then eventually your first 50 pounds. All right, so this episode is for those people that specifically want to burn as much fat as possible. Not really much for the meatheads, even though it's the Meathead on the Mic podcast. But I got to be delivering that value to those people that simply have the questions they don't have the answers to. And this is going to be the episode for that. It's going to be very, very simple, very laid out. And my intention today is to really speak to the person that is just beginning their weight loss journey. Okay, so in today's episode, we'll be breaking down how to lose your first 5 pounds and how to keep it off, and then how to repeat that process when you hit 10 pounds, when you hit 15, when you hit 20 pounds. All right, so without wasting any time, we're going to get into this podcast episode. One thing I will let you guys and girls know is that once we do start recording this podcast episode recording, I won't be really responding or talking to any of you guys in the comments or answering questions until the end of the recording. And then, of course, at that point, I will be able to answer as many questions and comments as possible. So with that out the way, let's break it down. Let's get into today's podcast episode in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Yo, what's good, meatheads? Hope you're having an amazing day, and welcome to another episode of the Meathead on the Mic podcast. It's your returning champion, IFBB Pro, Matt Butale, coming at you with another topic. And today, I'll be giving you a simple hack that will put into perspective for you, the beginner, how easy it is to lose your first 5 pounds. Okay, again, this episode is directed towards beginners, people that are sort of new to the gym or are looking to lose their first 5 pounds but don't know how to start. My intention with this episode is to teach you how easy it actually is for you to lose your first 5 pounds and then make that your first 10 pounds, your first 15 pounds, your first 20 pounds, and then eventually your first 50 pounds that you lose in a successful weight loss journey. So, although today's, it's the Meathead on the Mic podcast, today's episode is geared towards burning more fat than actually being a meathead or talking about putting on ridiculous gains for muscle. All right, so that's my intention today, is to show you how to cut 5 pounds of fat, but how to keep it off, and then how to slowly snowball that effect into 5, 10, 15, 20 pounds or more. All right, and then the most important thing here is to keep the weight off and to make it permanent and sustainable. Okay, so let's get into this one. Let's cut the knife down the middle and get into the meat and potatoes of things. Okay, so how to lose 5 pounds is very simple. Okay, today I want to bring the basics to the forefront so that you can understand how simple it is for you to lose your first 5 pounds and eventually make it stay off while putting on some muscle. Okay, and if you're an overweight man, you need to understand this. You need to understand this. Okay, you burn more calories by just existing without doing any training or cardio. Like most of the calories that you burn are not burned from cardio, are not burned from training. Most of them. All right, most of them are actually burned when we're doing just regular everyday shit. Getting to the car, walking around the hallway at work, picking up your kids, all that shit. Every regular thing that you're doing, that burns more calories than when you're training or when you're going out. As confusing as that seems, to do cardio, to train. When you sweat, you're like, oh, I'm sweating, like I should be. I think I burn more calories than this. Like, you don't. The most you burn is just your body having its own functions, like digesting, like thinking even, right? Sweating. If you wake up sweaty, you burn a lot of calories in your sleep, right? Just all of the other functions, everything from your blood pumping around, all of that, it costs energy, and calories in a form of energy, and our body, or all of our bodies are electric. They're all using energy at all times, regardless of if we're training or doing cardio. Okay, so that's one thing I really want you to understand. That what I just described is called your BMR, your basal metabolic rate. The basal metabolic rate is basically the amount of calories that you burn just by existing. And it varies for everybody. But the one thing I want you to understand, especially for beginning in your fitness journey, guys and girls, okay, is that your BMR is basically it's not permanent. It's the leaner you are, the more calories you will be burning by just sitting around. Okay, so what does that mean? That means the less fat that you have in your body, the higher your BMR, and the higher your BMR, the more calories you burn when you sleep, when you walk, when you're chilling or whatever it is that you're doing. And that, guys and girls, is what you want to be in. You want to be in a state where your BMR is as high as it can possibly be, which is the closest to an anabolic state, so that you don't have to put that much of an effort every single time to go to the gym to always fight your weight coming down. And how do we do that? How do we increase our BMR? How do we, enable our bodies to burn more calories so that we don't have to actually go out and physically, attempt to burn those calories doing extra training or doing extra cardio? How do we do that? How do we do that? Well, if that's a question you have, we've got the answer in this episode. So stick around and stay tuned. All right. So, guys and girls, this is the problem. Let's look at how you even got to where you got to. All right. Before we talk about that, we want to talk about how you actually got to this position of being overweight in the first place. Yes, genetics can play a role, just like they can for everything, but they're never solely responsible for everything. You know what I mean? Habits. We'll say this: habits load the gun, genetics pull the trigger. We'll say that much. Or you can flip it the other way around. You get the analogy, right? Genetics aren't everything, although they can contribute to your body being in the certain position that you might be in. All right, so let's break this down here. When we eat in excess, because this is how you got here, right? When you eat in excess, just means you eat more than you need to eat, right? Your body is going to store the extra calories as fat. All right, when you eat in excess, your body is going to store those extra calories as fat, and that's honestly a problem that's easy to fix. Because in this episode, I'm literally going to give you one hack that you could throw in today. You can literally, after this episode, apply this hack and notice in 1 month, although it's quite a bit of time, 1 month, you will be able to lose 5 pounds with rather little effort, or almost no effort. Like, you could literally listen to what I'm about to say, lose 5 pounds this month without even going to the gym. Like, you could just go do walks and do what I'm about to tell you with these calories, and you'd still be able to lose your first 5 pounds within 1 month. And of course, I'm going to show you how to scale this up so that you can lose more weight and keep it off as we go down. All right. So in order, guys and girls, let's break this down. Pull out a pad and a pen, or get ready to replay this if you are a person that is struggling to lose your first 5 pounds and you want to lose your first 5 pounds. So in order to lose your first 5 pounds in 1 month or less, all you've got to do is drop your calories by 200. And it seems weird to say that, okay? Because first things first, I know that you're not even tracking your calories to begin with, so let's get that out in the air. Let's get that out in the air. Like, you got to get that habit at least down packed to a point where you know what goes in your mouth has a certain value. Like, for example, if you eat, say, 2,700 calories every day out of these certain foods that you always eat, then you'll know that, okay, if I eat all these certain foods at the certain measurements that I usually have them, then I'm about 2,700 calories per day. So then you can sort of get used to it after you do it a couple of times. But before you get used to it, you're going to have to know what the values are. And the values will always be given to you off of a food scale once you can measure the quantity of that food. And you also use something that I like to use with my clients and myself, which is an app called MyFitnessPal. I recommend that you download MyFitnessPal to track your food. It's a really good habit that everybody, I believe, on this planet should actually have. The ability to track food, or the willingness to track their food, so that they can have that leverage and that control over what they eat and what they put in their mouth, and ultimately how their body packs on fat, or how their body transforms in a time period. Okay, so in order to lose your first 5 pounds, just drop 200 calories. And it's super simple, especially if you're like really overweight. It's super simple. 200 calories is not a lot, but it's enough to get your body to start doing more than what it was when you didn't have, or when you did have those 200 extra calories. So what does 200 calories look like? It depends on what your eating habits are like. If you eat mostly junk and you snack a lot, 200 calories is pretty much going to seem like nothing to you. Let me break it down. Let's say you like cookies. You like Oreo cookies, right? So one Oreo cookie is roughly between 50 to 53 grams or 50 to 53 calories, okay? 4 Oreos is 206 calories, guys and girls. 4 Oreos. 4 Oreos. And that's almost nothing. Like, that's 4 cookies. That's nothing. If it meant that you put 4 cookies down okay? Every single day, like you don't snack on those cookies anymore. Like you remove 200 calories that in the form of cookies from your total intake every single day, regardless of even being in a super, super deep deficit. If you're in a slight deficit or eating less than what you were currently eating, your weight will at least stop going up. And that's just with food itself, right? If you just drop 200 calories in 1 month and you walk, let's say once or twice a week for 15 minutes, 10 minutes, once or twice a week, you lose 5 pounds in a month. Okay, definitely. But that's not the only problem, right? The other problem is the fact that you're not physically active. And that's sort of how we scale this thing. Okay, what do I mean by physically active? Guys and girls, we can talk about walks. You can walk, if you don't have the ability to go to the gym or the time to go to the gym or whatever, whatever your reality is. If you can't go to the gym or you can't put as much effort down as possible, you could put in a bare minimum amount of effort and still make progress. The only difference here is that it takes more time. Okay, it takes a lot more time. You notice it said 5 pounds in 1 month or less. And the or less is just dependent on how willing you are to, add days of real hard work into your schedule. And it's not like that it's got to kill you, right? But it's like it has to be hard enough work. And what I mean by that is, you know, putting 2 to 3 days in a week where you go to the gym and you also do cardio. So like you'll go to the gym, maybe you'll train for 30 minutes, most 45 minutes tops, right? And what are you doing? You're going to do some machine work, you're going to do some free weight work, or you're going to do one or the other, or you're just going to go in there and do cardio depending on what you can do, what you can't do if you're injured, or you could just hit some weights and then right after that do a walk when you get home, or do a walk in the morning then hit some weights. But you're doing cardio and you're training at the same time, at least 2 to 3 times a week, which is not really, it's really not a lot. And I know going from 0 to 2 to 3 is fucking a lot, but that's fine. You can go from 0 to 2 or from 0 to 1 and then from 1 to 2, right? 2 to 3 for 99% of individuals is perfect for them to lose weight and to start snowballing from not only 5 pounds, but moving towards 10 pounds, then 15 pounds, and then 20 pounds, and then moving on all the way up until whatever goal that they aspire to reach. And also while putting on muscle by respecting the total amount of protein that they need to consume per pound of body weight, which, if you haven't heard already, out of the 113 episodes where I scream it at the top of my lungs, is approximately between 1 gram to 1.2, 1.5 grams, depending on your size, per pound of body weight. Okay, so get that much protein in. If you're 200 pounds, you get 200 grams. If you're 210 pounds, get 200, or aim for 210 grams of protein, right? That won't hurt you. That's going to keep the muscle on. If anything, add more muscle as you get leaner, as you, train, as you do your cardio, and of course, as you, calculate and watch your caloric requirements so that you don't end up overeating and, backpedaling in any way, shape, or form. Okay? So, again, if you're not physically active, it means you're not burning the calories that would otherwise get stored as fat. All right. So remember when I talked about BMR? BMR is awesome. Your basal metabolic rate is going to allow it to. It's going to take a lot of the burden off your back. We'll say that much when it comes to burning calories, right? But the remainder, which is still very important, which we can leverage more of with our physical activity, is the gym and cardio. And I think, not even that I think, I know for a fact that if you were able to commit 2 to 3 days out of your week, and I'm saying you could even hop in the gym and use the machines for maybe 20 minutes, 20 to 25 minutes, and then do like the treadmill right after that. And that would be freaking amazing if you could do that 2 to 3 times a week. It would be freaking amazing because that literally, if you were to eat the same, drop those 200 calories, those 4 cookies that I talked about, and then you train, okay? You'd be able to burn more calories with your basal metabolic rate plus the training plus subtracting 200 calories, which in 1 month would make that 5 pounds 10 pounds of weight loss. What did you do? You just added 2 days or added an extra day of training or extra calories being burned in conjunction with reducing the calories that you ate. Does that make sense? Again, if you train 2 to 3 days a week and you did cardio and you drop 200 calories from what you're eating right now, you would be in a way better position by next month. At least 5 to 10 pounds would come off, right? And if you really want to accelerate it, I wouldn't even say eat less than that. I would just say, okay, well, now, if you really want to be, you want to nail this, you want to, make the most gains and the most fat loss as possible, then I would, recommend calculating what a proper caloric deficit and what an extreme caloric deficit would be for my weight, for my height, for my age. Again, those numbers vary. Okay, the amount of calories that you need to consume varies, dependent on your age, your height, your weight, your physical activity level, so on and so forth. So if you really wanted to leverage the amount of weight that you wanted to burn, I would figure out how many calories I would need to, lose maybe 1 pound a week, and then how many calories I'd need to burn 3 pounds a week, and then stay somewhere in between that, so I could lose about 2 pounds per week, 1.5 to 2 pounds per week. And the reason why we want to lose 1.5 to 2 pounds per week as opposed to like super fast, like 5 pounds a week or 3 pounds a week or anything like that, is because if we do it a little bit slower, like there's a point of diminishing returns. Okay, if you burn less than a pound a week, it's awesome. You're going to be able to preserve so much muscle. Okay, and that's typically ideal for somebody that's like really, really, really lean. If you're like super lean, you already have abs, and you want to like get ready for a show or something like that, losing like 0.5 to 0.8 pounds a week is probably the best. Right, but if you're a little bit thicker, chubbier, you got a little bit more fat on you, right? You might want to lose 1 to 1.2 pounds per week. Okay, and if you're even bigger than that, and you're new to the gym, I would recommend losing between 1.5 to 2 pounds a week and not really going over 2 pounds a week. Why? Because there's a point of diminishing returns. What does that mean? The point of diminishing returns, guys and girls, is once you start to lose weight fast enough, like over 2 pounds a week, you start to lose a lot of muscle tissue. Okay, and although it might look fucking really enticing on the scale, like you step on the weight scale, you're like, holy shit, man, I'm really cutting up. I'm losing a whole bunch of weight. That's sick. Although it looks good and you might feel motivated, if prolonged for like months on months on months, it's going to make you feel drained. It's going to fuck up your hormone production. It's going to make you feel weak. You're going to look weak. Your eyes are going to sink into your fucking skull. You're going to feel like a dead man or a dead woman, because when you lose muscle tissue and you lose muscle mass, remember when I talked about your BMR? That won't really change. So you'll be losing a lot of weight, okay, but the amount of calories that you burn will still be low at a rested state. So you'd still have to work really hard in order to burn the remainder of the calories, right? Instead of letting the muscle do the work for you. Does that make sense? Because muscle, guys and girls, when you have muscle on your body, the more muscle you have, the higher your BMR, because it keeps you closer to an anabolic state. Why? Because muscle is more calorically expensive than fat, which means to have muscle on your body requires more energy from your body, requires more calories from your body to keep it on your body. Does that make sense? So if you're losing weight really, really rapidly, and when I say weight, I mean you're losing muscle, fat, and water at the same time, which is typically over the rate of 2 pounds per week, you lose a lot more of what you need, which is the muscle, then you really fuck up your health, ultimately, because you won't be feeling better. You might look a little bit better, but not even so, because your muscles will be flat. You won't have any vascularity or veins. You will feel weak. You will look weak and frail. It's how you see those people that do those extreme crash diets. At the end of those crash diets, where they lose like 50 pounds in like a ridiculous amount of time, like a short amount of time, they look like they're dead. Because the longer you take your time to do it, the more muscle you have the ability to retain and, if not gain, in that process as you burn fat, so that once you do get to your goal weight, so once you do get to your goal body, your body has enough muscle to not only sustain it in a way where you get to have energy, which is super fucking like important. Fuck how you look. It's about how you feel. Trust me, take it from a pro bodybuilder. And also still have the benefits of having a higher BMR, which is going to make it less effort on your end to keep that weight off. Not just to get it off, but to keep it off. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Okay. Again, your body makes use of these calories during your workouts, but most of these calories get spent just by you being alive, your heart beating, your brain sending electrical signals, your nervous system operating, all that shit. That's where most of your calories are burned. Sleeping, digesting, that's where most of your calories are burned. Okay? But if you add an extra caloric expenditure to that total amount of calories you burn just by living, you lose weight. Better yet, you lose even more weight than 5 pounds in 1 month. You could lose up to 10 pounds, right? And you could lose honestly as much weight as possible, but I would recommend controlling it so that you don't lose more then 2 pounds per week, which is about 8 pounds per month. If you're losing more than 10 pounds per month, it's kind of okay if you're super obese. If like, because you'll notice, and I've seen this firsthand. If I've ever worked with somebody that was super obese, like at least over 300 pounds, or in the high 250s, 60s, 70s, 80s even, the first week of them eating clean, whole foods, getting rid of their inflammation, and clearing out their bowels, it's crazy. I've seen people lose like 11 pounds, 12 pounds in like 1 week. But I'm really, taking into account, is that really 11, 12 pounds of fat? No. It's literally all the shit that's making their bowels inflamed. And mostly, and I'll be honest with you, it sounds a little disgusting, but it's mostly backed up stool, backed up shit, backed up crap that's been sitting in their guts. And yes, this happens to people that aren't really aware of their bowels. They don't really eat in a way where their body respects, or their digestive system respects the food that they put in their mouth, and they don't have the ability to fully absorb or digest pretty much any food because of their habits and their abilities and the way they fuck their intestines, right? So you all notice whenever I get them on a diet plan that clears out their bowels, they could lose up to like 10 pounds plus in a week. But then again, we're talking about the outside of average. We're talking about the close to morbidly, if not morbidly obese, that suffers with bloating constantly throughout the day. Like, I mean, suffers with bloating, right? So that's the only case where it's sort of normal to see that much weight decrease in such a short period of time, or at least where it would be healthier to see that than to compare to like 90% of the other people that just want to burn fat. If you lost 10 pounds in 1 week, that's fucking dangerous, especially if you're not morbidly obese, like you're just fat, or you have no muscle, or skinny fat, or whatever it is. Losing such a high amount of weight in such a short period of time is just not ideal. And I've done it myself too. As an amateur competitor back in 2020, because COVID, right? COVID was there, and COVID held back a lot of people from competing and stuff like that, right? A lot of shit was closed. So in that point in time, I remember there was a show I was getting ready for. At the time, I was working with a coach, really respectful coach, educated coach, Brett Godin. Shout out to Brett Godin if he ever listens to this. The head coach of Phoenix Fitness. So I was working with him, and last minute the show popped up, and they decided they were gonna go with the show throughout COVID. And I was notified 3 weeks before the show, and I was 30 pounds up. So I had to lose 30 pounds in about 3 weeks, and with Brett Godin's help, I was able to do that. Right? Was it ideal? No. Was it something that I'll do again? Fuck no. Why did I do it? Because I wanted to compete so I could qualify for Classic Physique the following year's Nationals, which I ended up doing, and we already know how that turned out. I turned pro, so that's awesome. The plan ended up working out, but it was a price that I think was ultimately not worth paying, because I lost a little bit of muscle, and my stress levels were fucked up. I did feel really weak, and I didn't look as good at that weight compared to other times that I've weighed that much, and I took a longer period of time to diet. So to lose 30 pounds in 3 weeks, under a month, okay, versus to lose the same 30 pounds over 5 months, 4 months, which is normally what I do. Of course, the look of 4 or 5 months and dieting slower is always the better look, because I'm retaining and if not gaining muscle in that process. And if we can understand that about bodybuilding, it's I'm a human being, right? So it translates the same way into your fitness journey, right? And you may be thinking, oh, maybe it doesn't, because, well, I'm natural. I don't take any steroids, right? I have a really, I would say that I've got a work ethic that most people don't have, but still, if you change the level of difficulty, it doesn't matter. You're going to be getting results anyway, more or less depending on the difficulty that you're putting yourself through, depending on what it is that you want, like your goal. Like, again, my goal was to be a professional bodybuilder, and your goal may be just to burn some fat, right? So you can tune it down or turn it up based off of where you want to go with your body, right? So that's one thing I want to let you know. I need you to understand that, especially if you're a beginner, okay? Like, your body will spend those calories on the workout. So you've got to add at least 2 to 3 workouts a week, and you lose weight. And if you're overweight, don't think that, don't think of just eating your way out of it. Like, you ate yourself into that position, I understand, but don't think that only food itself is going to fix your problem. Like, oh, if I just crash diet, or if I just eat way fucking less, I can lose weight without going to the gym. Don't think like that. You could do that. You could. But you will also, when you lose weight, like your mass in general, your entire body weight, you lose water, muscle, and fat. No matter what, when you diet, you lose those. But the amount of muscle that you keep is the most important. And you lose your ability to keep that muscle if you only focus on eating fucking barely anything by crash dieting and not training. But by training and putting your body, giving your body a stimulus and allowing your muscles to be worked and burn calories and also feed them the adequate amount of protein, that's what's going to not only get you the weight to come off, but to keep that weight off, right? With the higher BMR, as we talked about earlier on in this episode. And on top of that, consuming protein foods, protein-rich foods, make you feel more full. So even when you are on a, say, if you ever want to compete in a deep calorie deficit because you want to get godly shredded, then eating proteins most of the time, or which is probably what you're going to do anyway, is going to make you feel full. And anybody that's competed can sort of attest to this. Your protein meals are the meals you look forward to because they actually make you feel full regardless of the lack of calories that you'll be getting from them, right? And that's a little bit of an extreme, but it is true. It is true. Okay? So don't think of it as eating yourself into a deficit. Think of it as exercising yourself into a deficit. All right? So you can control how much you eat. As I said, for beginners, for starters, drop your first fucking 4 Oreos, your first 200 calories. Okay? Like if you notice that you snack, stop whatever snacking that you're even eating, okay? And this is before you even measure or you get into the habit of calculating with a food with a calorie calculator. Just literally stop eating the snacks that you're eating throughout your work, okay? And go on 1 or 2 walks every single week, okay? 1 or 2 walks, 5-10 minutes, not even 5 minutes. We'll say 10 minutes. You have the time for 10 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes, and then drop all the snacks. That's 5 pounds in 1 month. It's that easy. But if you want to lose 10 and you want to be consistently losing 10 pounds a month, that's a different ballgame, and that's going to require not a lot more difficulty, but just a lot more effort, intention, and consistency. It's not difficult. It just requires more of your brain power, right? You're going to need to learn how to say no. You're going to need to learn how to leverage your ability to select foods that make you feel full, but also make you burn fat, while also keeping enough protein in the diet so that you can build muscle, increase that BMR, so that you don't have to spend so much fucking energy. Okay? You don't have to spend so much energy in the gym. All right? So, cut your calories by 200. Cut your calories by 200. Do some cardio. Train 3 to 5 times a week if you're insane, but 2 to 3 will get you there, believe me. And you lose about 5 pounds in 3 weeks. It's as simple as that. And once you do that, you'll realize you don't actually have to cut your calories so aggressively to see a lot of progress. Instead, only cut 200 calorie intervals, and then from there 50 calorie intervals from what you're currently eating to keep you overweight. Again, you need to start to use the app that I recommended for you and that I use for myself and my best clients, which is MyFitnessPal, and it's going to help you keep tab on how much you're actually eating every single day so that you can control the total amount of calories. Okay? And every 5 to 10 pounds you'll lose, it'll be in a way where it's like sustainable, but more importantly, well-paced and healthy, because you don't want to just crash diet, lose a bunch of muscle. You want to be able to burn fat and build muscle in the process, okay, so that, it compounds and that you don't have to try as hard to burn the fat, which is like why if you look, for example, at like, if you've known anybody in your life, that may have been skinny or skinny fat growing up, and they put on a shit ton of muscle, now they're jacked. I bet if you went up to them and you asked them, hey, how much junk food do you eat now? They'll probably tell you, like, I probably go out every 2-3 days or every weekend, Friday and Saturday. I can have pizza, I can have burgers. And you're like, what the fuck? Like, you're so jacked. Like, I swear before you were eating like this and it made you fat. What's the difference now? Well, the difference now is because there's so much more muscle, more lean tissue on this person's body, that they're able to metabolize the foods better. They burn more calories in a rested state, which means those foods have less of an effect on them, and they're able to get away with them more than you are because your basal metabolic rate is lower, because you're less active, you have less muscle tissue on your body, and you're not even in a calorie deficit and have never really put yourself in one so that you can truly maximize your benefits from literally whatever it is that you're putting in your mouth, from protein, fats to carbs, and overall calories. You're not really going to be able to enjoy the freedom of, getting to eat whatever you want and in a controlled way and still have a desired outcome, unless you apply some brain power, some discipline to scale up from just losing 5 pounds in 3 weeks or a month. Okay, but this is for the beginner. This is the basics. I really need you to understand. Work on your first 5 pounds for that month, 3 weeks to a month, just by dropping off all the snacks and going on 1 to 2 walks a day if you do absolutely fucking nothing. And then once that's there, once that's implemented and you see the first 5 pounds come off, then you know you're ready to actually jump into the next step to make that a consistent 10 pounds a month where you're able to retain, if not gain muscle throughout your fat loss journey in a sustainable way where you'll feel full, where you still get to select and season foods that you like to eat so that you can do this for the rest of your life and not just for a season because winter's coming, winter's gone, or you want to go to fly out to vacation. It's not just for that, right? This is for your health, for your performance, for your sex life, for your hormones, your relationships, everything. So treat it like that. Okay, that's it. That's all. If you like this episode, share it out with a friend. I hope I was able to deliver a valuable experience to you guys and girls today. Thank you so much for your precious time and attention. All right. Don't forget to screenshot and share this podcast out to anybody to show support. Let's embrace your inner meathead together. It's been nice chatting. Hope you like what today's topic was about. IFBB PRO Matt Brutale, signing out. Boom. All right, people. I'm going to look at some of the comments here really quickly on Instagram. Put Power Fitness says, thanks for all the information. This was a great listen. I fucking appreciate you. I seriously do. Thank you for actually tuning in and sticking around. I really do. Lizzie, what is good? Thank you for tuning in. Making my day so much better. Sounds like my relationship. Yeah, can you please do a Q&A soon? Honestly, I might do one on the weekend. Lizzie says, speak on fast food intake, your opinion. So again, fast food intake, it's not as bad as we think it is. But again, if you are somebody that was never health conscious, you've never counted calories, you don't go to the gym, then fast food is probably the last thing I would recommend somebody eat. And the reason why is simply because a burger, which is this small, okay, which most of us, including me, can just scarf down 4 or 5 of them without even feeling full, have a ridiculous amount of calories. So a burger like this could be like 400 calories, 300 calories, right? Whereas I can, out of, like, if we're talking 300 calories, I can get a shit ton of protein, carbs, and a little bit of fats in a bowl of rice and chicken. That's just me to be, I'm being simple with it, like rice and chicken, but it could be potatoes and fucking ground turkey or whatever. It can be, right? But the whole point is eating intentionally nutrient-dense foods have way less calories, but way more volume. So you will be able to fill up more space in your stomach with more nutritionally dense foods and also have that benefit you over like the long term because it's helping you get the results that you need for your overall goals for your fitness journey, right? So there's that benefit as opposed to the fast food where it's like, yes, there are some macronutrients, but there may not be, they are probably likely not going to be favorable to the person that's eating them, right? They may not have a lot of protein, maybe a decent amount, but then a ridiculous amount of fat or carbohydrates, right? And even worse, it's super small. So eating one of them, even though one burger is like probably almost 1.5 times or 2 times more calories than a healthy meal, it feels like it's nothing because it's so small. And then that causes us to overeat because we're not actually full. And then if we overeat those small burgers 4 times, and one of them is already like almost 2 times as big as a whole meal, then we're fucked, right? So when it comes to whole foods versus fast food intake, I think that it's best for you to focus on whole foods at least 80% of the, I would say 100% of the time for at least 1 month is when you start your fitness journey. And then after the first month, 80% of the time you can eat, your whole foods. And then 20% of the time, you'll, with the understanding that fast foods are smaller but have more of a caloric weight to carry, you can gauge that carefully and still respect your caloric requirements without having to like overeat by accident because those units are so small. Like fucking think of Oreos. One Oreo is 53 calories. 4 Oreos is 200 calories. And in 200 calories, I can have a whole big ass bowl of like 250 grams of rice and like probably 5 to 6 ounces of chicken, right? And make it less than around even 200 calories, right? But we're talking 4 Oreos here. Who's gonna feel full off of 4 Oreos versus a big ass bowl of rice and chicken, right? So that's how we get ourselves to accidentally eat more calories than we're supposed to be eating, right? So just a quick take on fast food. You can definitely have it if you know how to have it, right? If you know how to incorporate it into your overall fitness journey, which just means you have to check off a few boxes. And for me, it's as simple as this. Number one, does it fit within the calories? Number two, does it give me enough protein to help me hit my overall protein cap? That's all I care about personally, right? That's how I think about it. But for most people, it's just going to be the calories, okay? Because you should be getting enough protein outside of whatever it is for your fast food. But same thing, you can have fast food and factor in the protein too as well. But as long as it abides by the calories that you're supposed to be having, you're good, right? So it's something that we overthink, but I don't think we should overthink it. It shouldn't be implemented unless you have some form of discipline, right? It's like candy. Should you eat candy? Yes or no? Like we know sweets are bad for you, right? Whatever. But like you can eat sweets if you know that you're not going to eat too many, right? Something that our parents would have told us. But it's the same thing that sort of applies here. It's the self-control, it's the discipline, and the knowledge of what it is that you're actually putting in your body, in your mouth, that's giving you either giving you or not giving you the results that you are, desiring. So Lucy says, "Can you do a relationship podcast one day?" So I've done that once or a couple of times in the last few years. Um, I haven't done one. I don't think I've done one this year. No, the last one I did was with. They did do one I think this year with Quint Beastwood. If you know Quint Beastwood, that's my boy. We did a relationship episode. I don't really talk much about them because you just don't. But I mean, it's a cool request. If I get enough requests for that, then maybe one day I'll bring someone on the air and we'll talk relationships. By the way, Kareem, hey, keep that to yourself. I appreciate it though. I'm honored, super honored. Leroy, very valuable, but my BMR isn't genetically high, but I always strive to improve high BMR. So again, as I said, genetic predisposition is a thing. It exists. You can definitely be born with a certain hand of cards. But it doesn't mean that you can't make the best out of it, which is what I like about what you said here, Leroy. Always striving to improve your BMR. And that's literally done by trying to put on more lean muscle tissue every single year. All right. So basically, the only way to improve your BMR is to stay active, to eat healthy, right? Give yourself enough protein, respect your calories, train as hard as you possibly can, whenever you possibly can, right? And as consistently as possible, right? And those are the ways to improve your BMR. And everybody should be striving to constantly improve their BMR. It's never like, oh, my BMR is at a certain level now, and I'm just gonna like chill. Like, no, you should still be working out, and working out is going to inherently benefit your BMR. So I like that you dropped that gem there, but your genetics won't hold you back forever. All right. Lashonda, what the fuck is good? She says, just here to send you some love and good ass energy. I appreciate you, homegirl. I really do appreciate you. She says, I wish you abundance with everything you want and need. Much love, homegirl. I appreciate you. Lizzie says, I concur. Love you, man. I appreciate you. Very true. I just want your advice. Yeah, so I think if I get enough requests, then I'll definitely grab another pro bodybuilder or another bodybuilder and just bring them on the air and talk about relationships because I guess you guys give a shit, because what are we going to talk about? Mainly relationships regarding like bodybuilders and how it's like to date as a bodybuilder. Like that's pretty much what I would be talking about because I wouldn't be coming from any other perspective. So if that's something you want to hear about, then definitely we can bring that up. But I don't think it's a priority right now. But if it does come up enough, then we'll make it a priority. But people, guys and girls, I appreciate your presence. I appreciate your attention. Thank you so goddamn much for tuning in to today's episode of the Meathead on the Mic podcast. We'll be back again. We are doing 4 to 5 episodes a week. You know what time it is. Hope you guys and girls have the sickest motherfucking Tuesday of your goddamn life. IFBB Pro, Matt Brutale, signing out. Boom.